I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to defend his cause. Maintain the honors of his word, the glory of his cross.
Hello, I'm James Brown, and on behalf of the Eastern Church of Christ located in Toronto, Canada, I'd like to welcome you to today's edition of Walking Through the Bible, a podcast where we seek to study the Bible and the Bible alone. Please stick around afterwards for information on how you can contact us. But for now, please go to the book of Genesis, and we'll turn you over to Jeremy Disocam for our study of the day.
Thank you, James, and welcome to all of our viewers. This is the 134th lesson in our study of Genesis. Yesterday, we covered Genesis chapter 39, verses 1 to 6, discussing Joseph rising in the ranks of Potiphar's house. If you missed that episode and would like to watch it, you can find it and all of our other podcasts on our website at www.eastendchurch.org. You can also find them on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/eastendchurchofchrist under the Walking Through the Bible Genesis playlist. Today we're going to begin with Genesis 39 verse 7 and read through verse 18. The text that you'll see on the screen is from the English Standard Version, but you're welcome to follow along with any version that you have. So let's now read Genesis 39 beginning at verse 7. And after a time his master's wife cast her eyes on Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Behold, because of me my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my charge. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except yourself, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" And as she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not listen to her to lie beside her or to be with her. But one day when he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house were there in the house, she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled and got out of the house. And as soon as she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled out of the house, she called to the men of her household and said to them, "See, he has brought among us a Hebrew to laugh at us. He came in to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And as soon as he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried out, he left his garment beside me and fled and got out of the house." Then she laid up his garment by her until his master came home, and she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you have brought among us came in to laugh at me, but as soon as I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment beside me and fled out of the house." In yesterday's episode, we found Joseph sold into the house of Potiphar. He was blessed by God so that Potiphar's household grew in wealth. Seeing this, Potiphar promoted him to be over all that he had. The passage also told us that Joseph was an attractive man. This characteristic about Joseph leads us to today's reading. Potiphar's wife remained home all day while her husband worked as the captain of Pharaoh's guard, and so had opportunity to proposition Joseph for sex. Joseph, though, was a righteous man and refused her advances. He gives her two reasons for doing so. First of all, he relates to her how Potiphar has placed him in charge of all that he has, even proclaiming that he is the most important person in Potiphar's household. Under normal circumstances, that would mean that he could do whatever he wanted. But Potiphar hadn't placed him in charge of her, for she was his wife. Therefore, since she wasn't his to take, Joseph wouldn't have sex with her. But he also gave another reason for not doing so, and this was a moral reason. He would not do this great wickedness and sin against God. In saying this, Joseph not only showed his respect for Potiphar, but he also showed his respect for God. Fornication, having sex with someone who is not your spouse, has always been described of as sin. Throughout the book of Genesis, although we haven't seen a formal wedding ceremony like we would have today, there has been a distinction between the married and unmarried state. Isaac took Rebekah into his tent and she became his wife. Judah, in the last chapter, had sex with Tamar, thinking she was a prostitute, but she didn't become his wife. Having sex with someone didn't make them your spouse, for marriage still was a commitment made before each other and before God. Potiphar's wife, however, didn't take no for an answer, and every day asked if he would have sex with her. Then one day, when none of the other men were around, she grabbed Joseph by his garment and tried to force herself upon him. He did the only thing that he could, leave his garment behind and run out of the house. Although it was probably unwise of Joseph to be alone with this woman in the house, especially seeing as what she had been doing, it wasn't sinful for Joseph to do so. His example of fleeing sin is one that we should follow, for sometimes that is our only option. Potiphar's wife, having been spurned by Joseph, but having his garment in her possession, called the men of her house and lied to them, stating that Joseph tried to rape her. We'll conclude this story, the Lord willing, tomorrow. With that, our time is up for today. Please join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we will continue our study of Genesis, beginning with Genesis 39:19.
Thank you, Jeremy. And to our viewers, we also thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Should you have a question or comment, please leave them below or email them to answerintheword@gmail.com. We'll try to respond to you as quickly as we can. We hope you'll join us, the Lord willing, tomorrow when we will be continuing on our study of the book of Genesis. Goodbye for now and have a great day.
I'm not ashamed to own my Lord, nor to